All right, it being 6 o'clock by T-Mobile time, I'll call this meeting of the Oconee County Planning Commission to order. Good evening and welcome to the February 17th meeting of the Oconee Planning Commission. We are a recommending body of the Oconee Board of Commissioners. Decisions made tonight on rezoning requests and other issues will be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners for final action. Tonight's agenda and sign-up sheets were out back. I've got them up here. If you missed that, we'll still have a chance to raise your hand and come up to the podium if necessary. This is how we like to do things. The Oconee Planning Department staff will present each application and their recommendations on that request. Then we'll ask for public input from the petitioner, the petitioner's representative, and then we'll ask for positive statements in favor of the request. We'll try to limit that to about 20 minutes. Then we'll ask for any people that have things that want to mention in opposition to the request. Again, we'll try to limit that to about 20 minutes. The petitioner or the petitioner's representative may use any remaining time, or if they're invited to come back to clarify any of the issues that might have come up. Then I'll close the public comment section and I'll bring it up to these people up here, the Planning Commission, for their discussion and any requests for additional information. On their deciding that they've got enough information, I'll ask for a motion and a second. And after the last bit of discussion, we'll take a vote and we'll pass that on to the Planning Commission. The way we like you to behave is for the benefit of anybody that might be watching online. When you come up to the podium, introduce yourself and give us a name and address. Direct your comments to the Planning Commission. You're trying to inform us on any issues that you see that need to be addressed. If we have multiple speakers, to keep that 20-minute limit, you can say ditto and move on to another issue that you might have recognized. And then we ask the speakers to be courteous to each other, not applaud from the back or comment from your seats, and address all your comments to the commissioners. And with that, I need to make one change to the agenda. We have 2 sets of minutes to deal with. December 9th didn't get dealt with because the snowstorm of January. Hopefully you read through it. If you had any comments about it from last time, let's address those. If there are no comments, I'll look for a motion. Anybody remember the December 9th minutes? They were online for a long time. They were in the packets last time, but we didn't all get them. Okay. Ann's made a motion to accept. I need a second. Second. I'll let Mike jump on that one. All right, and so everybody that approves of the December 9th, please raise your right hand. That'll work. All right, and then now let's deal with those of you that weren't here for January 21st. I didn't actually open the meeting, but evidently we have some minutes. So I guess I'm the only one that really needs to vote, but you saw it in your packet. Check the attendance. I guess that would be one issue. We didn't have a quorum, so we didn't really open the meeting, and therefore, all right. So, yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve these minutes. They represent what we did. Raise your right hand if you're okay with that. It'll work. I think that still fits under Robert's rules, so here we go. All right, with that, I will ask I to come up with our first applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, your first case this evening is rezone P240036, Heps Bridge Center 2 LLC, applicant and owner. This is parcel A01AT001OP. It's currently zoned to B2 in the regional center character area. And the request is to change the conditions of the previous zoning, case 6812, which zoned it to B2 to modify previous conditions and the concept plan. The requested changes are, number one, to amend the concept plan to allow construction of an automotive oil change and lubrication shop and a car wash. And number two, to amend the allowed uses on the property to include automotive oil change and lubrication shops, automotive parts, accessories, and tire stores, automotive repair and maintenance, except car washes, general automotive repair, and car washes. This is a recorded plat you have in your packets and the proposed concept plan showing the location of the car wash and the oil change facility. These are architectural images submitted with the application. And staff recommends conditional approval with our standard 3 conditions. Number 4, an automotive oil change and lubrication shop and a car wash are added to the previous permitted uses of retail, banking, and restaurants for the outlot. And number 5, no outdoor storage or display is permitted, including auto parts or tires. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Bishop, are you going to represent?
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to come before you. I'm Frank Bishop, 90 Cameron Glen Drive, Sandy Springs, Georgia. We're here representing Epps Bridge Center 2, and we agree with the recommendation of the planning staff. So we would ask your approval if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that'll do for now. Yeah. So I don't have anybody else sign up in favor. I'll give it one more chance. And I don't see anybody trying to get my attention, so I'll go ahead and there's still some time on the clock, but I'll go ahead and open it up to Dan McGee. You wanted to speak?
Dan McGee, Lockland Circle, unincorporated Oconee. Just a few years ago, the commissioners approved this area for 3 things: retail, banking, and restaurants. Those 3 things. Wasn't oil change, car wash, wasn't self-storage. All right. Those are low forms of economic development. Do not age well. Everyone here has heard residents complain about Oconee becoming Gwinnett County. It was clear what the commissioners wanted in 2016. They've not talked about any changes since then, but this is not the economic development we need in this county. Once again, they don't age well. They're not high-paying jobs. They're part-time jobs. They're low-paying jobs. County's bent over backwards for Mr. Bishop. Changed many things for Epps Bridge. For whether it's alcohol, the Costco deal, he was accommodated, so he doesn't have to pay taxes on it. All right, my taxes go to roads and bridges. My federal taxes go to military. Costco deal was changed, so he doesn't have to pay any taxes. All right, we've done enough. All right, but this is not age well. You make this decision now. Let's go back and see what it looks like in 15 years from now. These oil change places and car washes are constantly changing owners and branding. We have many other businesses in Oconee that already offer this. There's a brand new car wash a couple miles down the road from this location, brand new. That's more competition for them. All right, and some of these are actually owned by county residents, not out of county residents. Please think hard about this approval or not approval.
Thank you. And again, Dan was the only one that signed up, but is there anyone else that needs to bring anything to the commissioner's attention? All right. I will close the public comment section. I think I can bring it up here to the commissioners if they have any questions for any of the parties. I'll let them address it. So, Jim, you look like you want to go
I'm
first.
ready to go here.
All right.
Mr. Pittman, is that correct?
Bishop, yes.
Bishop, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Who owns the driveway off of Parkway Boulevard that feeds Hobby Lobby, Costco, and this property? Who owns that driveway?
Epps Bridge Center Associates owns that.
Are you expecting any improvements on that road if you were to develop this out parcel? I mean, right there at the little intersection where you can turn into Hobby Lobby and the gas and all that, it's pretty crowded. Are you expecting any improvements?
We had anticipated that this out parcel would be used for, at the time when we had these properties rezoned, we didn't realize that we were hoping to get Costco, and we didn't realize that they were in favor of the ability to provide services. And these are 2 of the services that they like to provide for their patrons. And they've test marketed in other markets, and it's something that they want to do. So in our minds, I know that the driveway may seem a little crowded from time to time, but we've had a traffic study done that says that it should be.
So the short answer is you're not planning
short
any
answer is
changes.
no,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Unless the county sees something.
Well, the other question I have is, I'm looking at the investment that Hobby Lobby and Costco put into the property there. And I would conservatively say it's well above $10 million. I mean, it's well over that.
Yes, sir.
But what bothers me about this is that you're changing the rules after they've already, let's say, built their house and moved in. Do you think you're being fair?
We are trying to accommodate, Costco. They are we think a good tenant and a good citizen for Oconee County. And in discussions with them, one of the things that they like to do is they're very patron oriented to their customer base. And they like the thought of patrons being able to come in. If I want to get my oil changed, or if I want to get my car washed, I can come in, I can get those two things done. I can get gas if I want to, and then I can go into the store and shop. And, the interest in putting in those two uses were directly based on conversations that we had with Costco, that's what they'd like to see. Because they have found in other markets that it's helped their store sales, just because it's a convenience for their patrons. Sure.
Anybody else?
I have a question. So you're saying that the original idea for retail is not a better use for the property?
That's correct.
I can see,
Because these two categories are classified under the retail category. And when we have a tenant that, a national retailer with the size store that they have, who's generating the sales that they are, and they tell us these are things that we can do to help their patrons be more inclined to come to the store and basically spend money, that's what they'd like to see. So what has been their experience is that in this particular situation, adjacent to Costco, what we will have here is, basically you can come in and get your car washed, you can have your oil change, you can get your car filled with gas, and then you could go in the store, and then you can go wherever else you want to go or go back home.
I have the same kind of concerns that I think.
Sure.
And I could see from Costco's perspective that what it's really doing is removing a competitor. If there's not a store there, they're not competing with Costco. And there's a car wash even closer than what Dan mentioned. It's next to Brewster's Ice Cream. It's right around the corner. Right, thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Bishop, I have a question.
Sure.
Does the decision to do the oil change and car wash have anything to do with the RE8 CCRs? Because I know that Costco or Hobby Lobby restrict a lot of other types of uses, out parcels. Is that contributing to you wanting to put Valvoline there versus some other use?
We looked at other uses, but one of the things that we think makes for a successful shopping center is to have successful tenants. And when we have a strong national tenant like Costco, and they tell us that these are things that will help their business, we try to figure out ways to accommodate them. Because if they're successful, then the center will be successful. And the benefit for all of us has been that they came in, their sales have been good. Their sales have been ahead of their budgets. And our tenants across the street have also experienced an increase in sales because of Costco being there. So we know that there's been, because of Costco and because of our philosophy of trying to have a healthy tenant, and which leads to a healthy investment for the county and for us. If we can do things that will help their mission to be able to serve their clients, and That's what we're trying to do. We had originally planned that there would be a restaurant there. But during the development process, we had the conversations with Costco, and that's what they told us that they'd like to see. So we
Thank you.
worked in that direction.
Mr. Bishop, I think.
Sure.
I've got, Obie's got a few.
Sure.
Got one for Guy,
Okay.
actually.
Let's take a break.
Back when this was approved,
Mhm.
and there's a condition to not allow the car wash
Right.
and all that.
Mhm.
Was that put on by, I guess, Mr. Bishop, Costco, or was that put on by the commission?
I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that one, if it was proffered condition or if it was just placed by the Board of Commissioners or staff at that time.
Well, what you're saying is it's not a boilerplate condition that we put on some of these things, except car washes, automotive repair. That's not something that we typically do or something that was put on. Is it written in our code or you think it was put on? 'Cause I can't remember.
It may have been put on, I don't know, or if it was proffered, I don't know. We have that in the past. We've seen that in the
I've
past.
seen it in the
Right.
past already,
Right,
put on,
understood.
so I was just.
I'm just not sure which way it was applied, whether it was proffered or whether it was
Most of this was
staff.
done For 2009, most of it's decided, so back in 2009.
right.
They had an image of that, but we've dealt with it on smaller parcels that cropped up elsewhere where we've limited no car wash. So
I just know a lot of stuff is already less than accept.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
anybody else for Guy or Mr. Bishop? All right, so let you guys, any discussion up here, back and forth. Doesn't have to be questions. You guys can share your thoughts with each other for a moment. My wife and I are not this kind of shopper, but I had to imagine myself dropping her off at Hobby Lobby and then taking care of the car while she's down there until she buzzes me to come to get her, but that was just me. All right, so with that and you guys being silent, I'm gonna start fishing for a motion.
I'll make,
Right, Matt?
all right, I'll make a motion that we approve P 240036 with action.
So I have a first, can I get a second? Also, Mike, thank you. M&M crew. All right, they have made a motion to approve with the conditions as staff has outlined. Any discussion? And I will ask you, please raise your right hand if you also approve of this motion. Five, and those opposed. 5-4, this is approved and it will go on to the Board of Commissioners for final action. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Your next case is rezone P 240254. This is Rhino Mini Storage. This is right off behind us here off Moreland Heights Road, parcel B 06030C. It's currently zoned OIP in the Civic Center character area. And the request is to modify the previously approved rezoning P 230157 to increase the maximum allowed office area from 23,400 square feet to 73,800 square feet, increasing the number of buildings from 4 to 10 and remove the previously approved assisted living facility from the concept plan. You have the recorded plat in your application packet and the concept plan showing the changes proposed. The architectural images submitted with the application. And staff recommends conditional approval with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4, all structures shall be brick or stone on all sides. Number 5, total building square footage shall not exceed 73,800 square feet. And number 6, traffic impact statement that meets the requirements of the UDC as amended through February 3rd, 2025 shall be submitted with the site development plan application for review as the proposed average daily trips is increasing from previous approvals from 515 ADT to 800 ADT. Thank you.
Thank you. So it looks like Jason, or Justin, you're going to represent?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Justin Greer, Pittman and Greer Engineering, 1050 Barber Creek Drive, Building 400. Give you a little history on the property. I asked Guy to put the concept plan up there. In, I think around 2006, the whole of the property was on OBP for the self-storage, and then there was an office complex on the remaining property that we're here before you tonight. We rezoned the property in 2021 for a 20,000 square foot office building and then assisted living on the rear. We came back in 23 and modified that single building we had to 3 buildings. And we're here before you tonight, changing it back to office from that assisted living. Since COVID, the senior market has changed a little bit on big buildings. Relatives want their seniors more in independent living, which is not allowed on this piece. But the owner, since he's built those 3 buildings, he has those leased. He's had a lot of interest in some more office space there. So we're here before you tonight to modify the rezone to 10 buildings for a total of 73,800 square feet. That's taking it down about 20,000 square feet from the assisted living. Pretty simple request. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
You. All right, I don't see any others that signed up to speak in favor of. Is there anyone out there that didn't get to sign up? All right. With that, like I did before, I'll go ahead and ask Lindsay if you want to come up and.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm new in town, and when I bought my house, I live at 1061 Moreland Heights Road. It was still a forest over there. And when I asked some of my neighbors, what are they planning to build? She says they're thinking about assisted living facility. And I was pretty charmed and happy that it would continue to be a neighborhood type area. But now that I see it's kind of moving towards a light industrial type area, that saddens me. I just came here to share my thoughts and learn more about the project. Again, thanks for having me.
All right, again, other than Lindsay, I didn't have anybody else. Is there one more time? All right. And I will go ahead and close the public portion and bring it up to the commissioners and let you get your questions answered. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Could you explain again what the reasoning behind changing from assisted living to not is, and what?
Yeah, so senior living, since COVID, the market's changed. I wouldn't say drastically, but it is changing. It has changed and it is changing. So what we've seen and what the owner has seen, what his plan was he was going to do multiple of these in Georgia. And so the market kind of changed to where seniors, relatives of seniors really don't want their relatives in these big box buildings. They want them into more independent style living cottages. So it's separate living. So when people couldn't go visit their families in COVID in a big building, they want to kind of, the model is changing to a more singular living type model. And so to kind of move away from we can't do that on this property. You have to be a CCRC to have those cottages as a component. And so you can't do that on this piece of property. So he had a lot of interest in the office, and we're not light industry, just to kind of clarify that. We're more office, contractor office, things like that. It's not light industry at all. So that's kind of with the interest he had in the 3 buildings he's built, he thought that would be a good alternative use to the assisted living building.
And I'm curious about, I don't know if you have access to this information, but what the data is behind that. I know that for Presbyterian Village, that the wait list for both the big building area and the cottages is approximately 10 years right now. So there does seem to be a need for that.
And it is, and I agree 100%. I worked on the Presbyterian Home Village project, and their model is a CCRC. They're step up. So they are cottage, independent living, and then you move to more of an assisted living kind of component. So I would agree with you. That model, 100%. The problem is we can't do that on this property without doing a CCRC, and it's not big enough to do that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the plat here, I noticed that there's quite a lot of asphalt loading area. So is it just office? What's the reason for that? Are you envisioning HVAC contractors or things like that here?
It could be, yes, sir, absolutely. And we may not have this much roll-up door access, but we did want to plan for it if you had a user come in and would want that.
I see quite a lot of it.
Yeah, we wanted to plan for it, for sure. Didn't want to be back in front of you.
Yeah.
What kind of buffer are we looking at here between the build out and the homes?
So along the street there, so this client owns a number of the lots that are labeled Moreland Heights Mobile Home Park. He owns those pieces himself. So a lot of the tracks to the south, the same client owns. So he bought the mobile home park, redid that, and he owns those pieces to the south. We do have to do a 15-foot buffer in between those two, so shrubs, a fence, and trees. And then there's some buffering along the road, Moreland Heights, which is, your standard parking lot buffering. And that would be the same for the 441 frontage as well.
So I guess my question there, when I'm looking at this layout here, I see parking spaces. The cars that pull in those parking spaces at night, lights would be shining right into those homes.
Well, that buffer would be there and a fence.
It's going to be a buffer that the lights will not go through. Solid buffer.
I cannot guarantee that. It'd be landscape buffer.
So if it's in the winter time and it's lost its leaves, there is no buffer, visual buffer.
Well, on the evergreen shrubs, there would be.
Yeah, that was my question too, Justin. So, is there opaque?
So there is where the property line turns is not adjacent to Moreland Road, but yes, where the property touches the residential, there is.
Okay, so where it makes the turn, the opaque fence stops.
Correct.
So the other buffer would just be behind the houses that front back on the other side of the turn. More than,
Correct.
and how tall is that?
No, there would not be a fence. Which fence? You're talking about along the road?
Along the roadside, yeah.
There's no fence along the road.
So there's no fence along.
No. UDC does not require a fence in that location.
Is there something you could add to fix that?
If you put a shorter fence, and not like a giraffe fence, but a shorter fence that would block some headlights into shining directly into the houses and people coming in except for the driver.
Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, a shorter fence.
Yeah, we could do that. A 4-foot opaque fence.
Yeah. I think that would take care of concerns about driveway lights and shining in.
We prefer it to be wooden or
Wooden.
that be an option that we can do wood.
Oh. Well, we can't do hurricane fence. It's flat.
The imitation wood bottom, like,
That's expensive.
It is. I know I've built a lot of feet. All right.
And I have a question. I'm sorry. I think, Chris, you might have asked this, but just, I guess I got this here maybe. You talk about, changing this over to office use, but with the roll-up, a lot of times the office use is also flex space. So is there anywhere that states like what percentage built out versus what would be like someone mentioned HVAC type contractor? Is it 10% office, 90% warehouse? Or?
No, we didn't divide that up within the buildings because we really don't know until tenants come along. We didn't want to box him into doing all flex space and then not have enough parking for office, because that, we talked about that originally, is okay, if we did flex space, we could cut way back on the parking. But if it ends up being office, we don't want to do that and not have enough parking. So it's kind of a catch-22 to try to plan as best you can for tenants that come.
And then just thinking of the traffic impact. Because more office, what kind of impact?
Yeah, and we look, so our plan and our parking numbers are based on just straight office. So office would be more restrictive. And I think we were, I think the old plan with the assisted living, I think it was 580 something on traffic, and we're at about 800. So it is an increase, but not substantial in our world.
1,000.
Yeah, and there's a condition that we would take a look at that, as part of the zoning.
Question
Yes, sir.
about, access.
Okay,
So, see, it looks like there's a main entrance right there that's directly across Moreland Heights Drive.
correct.
And then to the west, there's that second access. That's easement for the storage units.
Correct.
Would that access serve this office space? as
Yes,
well?
and we show a connection down there, as you come in that entrance. And so you could go out that way, or you could go out the main road that goes out between the two, commercial developments, True Steel and the daycare.
And then this might be more of a guy question, but the two accesses on Moreland, is that a fire requirement to have the two accesses, or is that just a preference?
It's a preference. It's a preference. Fire would not require two access points. And that access is being installed as part of that first phase of development.
There's a new one directly across from Moreland Heights.
Correct. Yeah, that's permitted. So the first three buildings are under construction, are built.
So the tenants that he already has, what sort of operating hours are they gonna have?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can find
I know
out.
nobody's taken residence there yet, set up shop yet, but I was just wondering what sort of businesses and what their office hours might be.
Yeah, and I don't think that was limited in the previous rezone. I don't think so.
But when I saw this, I don't know how familiar you are with Reynolds Plantation or Reynolds area. This reminded me of that across from the Publix shopping center. They've got offices there, and they vary from doctor's offices to the bug house, pest control, and what have you, and that. And this is what it looked like, but that whole section is shut down late night, after hours, business hours sort of thing. With the nursing home, we might have had traffic later into the evening, so anyway, that was my thoughts on it.
And I anticipate it to be that. I mean, it's gonna be, four sides brick, so it's gonna be on the nicer end of office warehouse. If that's what it ends up being, those office warehouse will be on the nicer end of that, So I anticipate it probably truly would be a mix, like you're saying, of, we're not anticipating medical, but, true, general office.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I would say last one, if I may.
Go ahead, Jim. And then
Mr.
I-
Heron, let me ask you a question here, please. I think since we were discussing the lights and the potential of light onto a residential property, is there a regulation about security lights, say up top of a building, lighting a parking lot, and how far that can, I'm going to use a improper word, bleed over into residential area? Is there anything in your regulation?
There is, yeah. So if there's ever any lighting proposed on a development, they have to go through and provide a lighting plan to us for review at the time of development. And it would require 1 foot candle or less at the property line.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
I think this is covered already, but I just wanted to make sure that I understand. Maybe this is a question for Chuck. I don't know. Has such a close proximity to the high school, and so I looked through, and it says that the Oconee Board of Education had no comment. But do we have any concerns about increasing with the?
I don't believe this is close.
To this,
This is not close to the high school. This is right next door to us.
Oh, I'm looking at it wrong then.
Yeah.
In fact,
Should have driven by it.
in fact, they should have put in a sidewalk from here to there.
Okay.
Had some tenants that were business with the county. They could have their offices right there. Yeah, so it's actually adjacent property. It's down south of.
Yeah, Justin, I had a quick question for you. For the loading areas, these are all drive-in roll-up doors, no dock eyes.
No dock heights. We don't anticipate large trucks coming in this development. We did not set it up that way for them to be able to get in and out either. Yeah, just maybe box trucks, small box trucks.
All right, we got, if I may pursue that a little bit more then, since he's put it on the table, Mr. Heron, may I ask you, is it necessary to put a restriction that there would be no dock height docks? I mean, is that required?
No, that's what's being proposed and the applicant has stated that. So
Okay, so
there's
it's
no
already
need.
part of the proposal
That's
and,
right.
okay, good,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
All right, any other questions, discussions?
Well, I'm thinking sorry about that. Go ahead. So that doesn't get. One of the three original buildings is dock height.
But you're not proposing loading dock
On
on the
new-
new ones?
No, sir.
Okay, that's good. All right, thank you.
Small load.
Yeah, and that's to cover that existing. Since it is encompassing the whole property as part of that rezone request. I wanted to make sure that was clear.
All right. Is that clarification? Any other discussion? Now I have my pen ready and I'm fishing for a motion.
Just as a procedural question here, I know that we discussed the opaque fence, and that's the petitioner has agreed to it. Does that have to be put in the conditions?
You'll have to add that condition in.
I'll leave that to Mr.
Whoever wants to make. the
Well,
motion.
I was just thinking about using the words, a 4 foot, opaque fence, wooden or similar material. So that'll let them work out whatever material they want to use for the fence. That'll protect the homeowners. We could add that as a condition.
So I don't see any other places to stick it in, so we're talking about a seventh condition?
But yeah, we have our others.
And Mr. Heron, do you want to get clarification? If all the structures shall be brick and stone, is there any rule about the opaque fence?
Yeah,
Yes, it would be 7.
excuse me.
Condition
Number
7.
7.
Okay.
You just agreed with it.
Yeah. Staff would recommend, in keeping with UDC, that it be the imitation wood vinyl.
So your condition, you want to just put 4 foot high opaque fence and then let them work it out.
I do.
4 foot opaque fence, and that is long for.
And the reason I say that is I almost had to go that rock. Into condition, so we got to change to wood. Probably several $100,000.
All right, so for condition 7 that we're adding to the staff's condition is a 4 foot opaque fence along Moreland, that driver road at that point. Anyway, that's fine. Moreland Heights Road, okay. And we'll let the details get sorted out. So with that motion, Matt, or you gonna, with that condition, you're gonna make a motion or?
Yeah, I will. I just didn't want to make, yes, yeah, I will make. I'll make a motion we approve, P 240254 with the 7th condition of 4 foot, opaque fence, along the parking areas to shield the residents from the park.
Gotcha.
Second.
I have a a first and a second to approve with the 6 staff conditions, the additional 7th condition. And now I need a right hand if you also approve that motion. Yeah. All right. Mr. Harry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Your next case and your final case is P 24-0257. This is Severn LLC applicant owner. This is located, it's a portion of parcel C 01V006 it's currently zoned AG in the regional center character area. And the request is rezone 3.14 acres from AG to B2. And this is, you have the recorded plat in your application packet. This is the concept plan proposing the hotel and the architectural images submitted with the application. And staff recommends conditional approval with our 3 standard conditions. Number 4, at least 80% of exterior wall surfaces of all buildings and structures shall either be brick, veneer, stone veneer, or glass, or a combination thereof. Additional primary and accent materials are allowed as indicated in UDC section 30603. Number 5, service areas and dumpsters shall be visually screened from public view by a 6-foot masonry wall with facade materials matching the exterior of principal structures with black painted metal steel enclosure doors. Enclosure doors made of wood or chain link are prohibited. Thank you.
All right. So I have, looks like client's representative. There you go.
Good evening, Mark Campbell, Carter Engineering, 1010 Commerce Drive, Bogart, Georgia. I'm excited to be here this evening representing the developers of this property who are here tonight as well. Looking forward to having a hotel in our community. Had the pleasure of working with this development group on other hotels in other communities in the Northeast Georgia area. But I think this is a great opportunity for a somewhat unique piece of property in Oconee County to have a hotel. If people come into town for high school graduations or some of those other things, I love my family, but I don't necessarily want them all staying at my house. So I think this is an opportunity here on, it has an address, Epsbridge Parkway, just because it's a larger piece of property. It's on Parkway Boulevard. So if you're familiar with the drive from Costco over to Kohl's and some of the new medical facilities that are constructed there along that area as well, that's where this property is located. The 3.1-ish acres is actually isolated from the remainder of the larger parcel because there is a stream that kind of cuts through on what I would call the rear of this property. So it makes it right for an opportunity to develop not, just the overall property, but to rezone just that portion to allow for a hotel development. So again, my name is Mark Campbell. I'm happy to answer any questions you might
have. All right, I didn't get anybody else sign up. I understand you guys are back there, and maybe if we have questions, might ask if you want to answer. Otherwise, I'll ask if there's anybody that wants to speak on the topic of this application in opposition or in favor. All right, I don't see anybody trying to get my attention, so I'll go ahead and close the public comment for the moment. All right, for the time being, and bring it up here to the commissioners for your questions and discussions. I'll lead off if I may.
Go ahead, Jim. Mark, if I could ask you to return, please. You made reference to the clientele, the expecting people to visiting family and so forth. Could you expand a little bit what you expected, the type of client or person you're going to anticipate as far as quality of the hotel, the amenities, the price point, things like that? Could you expand on that, please?
Yeah, so I'll expand as much as I can. I certainly don't know about hotel prices or anything. I travel and stay in hotels all over, and you could stay in the same hotel and it'd be one price. There's different prices for different times. But I'll tell you the most recent project I worked on with this development group that you may be familiar with. So there's a Fairfield Inn Suites that's in Athens. It kind of sits back behind where the Longhorn is, if you're familiar with that product. And so that would be, similar right now if I have somebody come in, or if there's, a big weekend, let's say in Oconee County or the surrounding area, if somebody has to stay in Oconee County or has an opportunity for a medical service, right, in that area that we know that Virgil Langford Parkway Boulevard is growing. People from other counties come into that. A lot of times folks don't want to drive in early in the morning or drive back later. They want to spend the night. That's what I would see. So similar in some ways to a Fairfield Inn and Suites. That's a Marriott product. There's also hotel products from Hilton. So Home Two Suites is what we were looking at this particular location, which it was a brand that's growing. It's not the trend that I would see. Sometimes, again, I happen to travel all over, so I see hotel rooms getting smaller and more compact with less amenities and features. I think this would be something that would be a little bit nicer and a little bit larger, where it wouldn't just be single travelers like myself, but something that may be more family oriented.
Do you expect clients to be long-term renters,
No.
residents?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Mark, when's there, I know we got a lot of parcels in the county that have been zoned for hotels. None have been built yet. How quick are your clients looking to build on this?
So they have the property under contract, and so obviously a condition of that would be approval of rezone. They're not interested in buying the property as ag zone property.
I understand.
But my understanding is they would be ready to move forward, sooner rather than later. But I don't have an exact date. I'm going to press them because, again, I got a high school student as well. So, but I don't have an exact time frame or date. These projects do take, in construction a while. So if I were giving a date that's not a hard line hold to, I would think this would be more in that 26 to 27 range. It's not a 2025 project. Because if you started construction tomorrow, I don't think you'd be done this calendar year.
What are some of you mentioned the Fairfield, is it over in Athens? Are there other properties that this group is associated with?
Yes, so we worked on some, and there's another one in Athens that's kind of that area it's under construction as well. But I worked on, I believe, a courtyard project, but things that are kind of in that Marriott courtyard type of a Fairfield brand. It's not a Holiday Inn. It's not any of those types of things, but those would be examples of other things we've done kind of in Conyers area or Gainesville area as well as the Athens area.
Okay. Now, the only reason I actually stayed at home last week is Marriott built obviously two different brands, different levels, all that. And just thinking about some being franchised, some being corporately owned. So, when a franchise get in, making sure that they are part of a brand that 5 years, 10 years, they can't sell, rename that to something else that does invite more long-term renters.
No, again, understand, and this is a development grougroup that is in the Athens area, right? That is here and lives here, and it's not a short term, where you might have other developments that somebody may want to get a subscription service and have it for a short period of time and maximize capital returns. This is a long term 20, 30-year investment.
I got a question for Guy. I know we months ago had another hotel over there with the Rose Fitness Center.
Right, yeah.
Can you remind me on if there's something already in the code to prohibit like a long-term stay, or we need to put something in here? I guess trying to prevent this being like a.
Right. No, these are, there is no requirement. The requirements in the code are for short-term rentals, right? And so these would, hotel motels would simply be, what they are, those overnight stays.
Pursuing that line of questioning, if this were to become basically a long-term rental, there's nothing in the code that would prevent that?
Long-term rental, yes. Yeah, we certainly could.
I mean, if families were to move in there and just kind of stay on
Yes,
and
sir.
on.
No. Then obviously that's no longer that short-term rental use. So yes.
I had a question for Mark. Taking a look at the survey, I've looked at a lot of surveys. I see the underground stormwater detention. What is that rip wrap? there. I've like never seen that in my life. on
Oh,
the
so there's an
survey.
existing discharge along Parkway Boulevard. That's where the riprap is for some
Okay.
pipe that comes under and kind of drains towards that same stream. So it's just an overlay on the survey.
Makes sense.
Everybody got your questions? I like the idea that they put that true in the home. We're the only college town that doesn't have one. As far as I can tell, my survey, personal survey. All right, any other questions, comments? Right, then you know I'm gonna come fishing. I haven't heard anybody mention conditions that need to be addressed, so I'm now fishing for an approval or a disapproval. Ever. Once,
Make a motion.
Okay.
Approve 240257. Stated with staff recommendation.
it's the. I'll second. Obi, all right. Obi and Jim have done a first and a second, and I'll ask everybody that's also in favor of approving with conditions, raise your right hand. Those are, yeah. All right. That is the business for today, so now I need a motion to adjourn. I'll let Chris have that one and Lisa second that, and we'll just go ahead and vote with our feet. Thank you all.